Good morning and welcome to Missoula Real Estate Today. This is Denny Bedard. Missoula Real Estate Today is presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Diane's been working with buyers and sellers in the Missoula market for over 25 years and brings us guests who provide useful information on industry-related topics and trends. And now, Missoula Real Estate Today on News Talk, KGVO. Well, we hope you're enjoying your weekend. Thank you for being a part of Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate, and a returning guest and a new guest at the same time with PayneWest Insurance. We have Justin Montelius. Justin is a sales executive with PayneWest Insurance. Justin, welcome back to you.
Thanks, Denny.
And we have Sam Lytle. Sam is a client manager with PayneWest Insurance, new to the show. How long have you been with PayneWest? I didn't ask you that before we went on, Sam.
I've been with PayneWest for about 4 years now.
Okay, your background, how you got there?
I started with insurance in 2008, right out of high school, and then I went to PayneWest Insurance 4 years ago after I had my two kids, and my mom works there, so it was a nice little transition into the PayneWest family.
Your mom works there, kind of a legacy thing there.
Yes, absolutely.
Going on, and you are a client manager. Justin is a sales exec. What all does a client manager do?
So client managers really focus on retaining that business. We help do changes. We go over your renewals when you have questions about rate increases or whether or not you should be insuring this item or that for vehicles. That's where I really step in and help out. Justin focuses as a sales exec of bringing in new business to the team, and then we work as a team together on the accounts.
How is he as a teammate? Is he okay?
He's phenomenal.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
One of the best.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. All right. I was hoping you'd say like he needs some work or something. Just stir up a little controversy here. Tell us about PayneWest, its origins, and how long it's been part of the Missoula market.
Yeah, so Western States and Payne Financial, there were two both independent insurance companies. They merged together back in, I think it was 2013. So I think we have, 20-plus offices over 4 states. We're in Montana, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington. Mm-hmm. I think we're approaching 1,000 employees. We're a full-service agency. We do, personal lines, commercial insurance, benefits, individual health, surety. So kind of whatever you're looking for, there's, a good chance that we could probably, find it for you.
When someone is shopping around for insurance, and I imagine a lot of people do that, they do a fair share of shopping around. What are some of the most common questions you are asked about it?
For sure, rate. That's really one of the top driving factors of people shopping. Right now, we are just coming off of a really hard market, so we are seeing some rate decreases in some of our carriers. Of course, that's always changing, so it could be that way for 6 months. It could be that way for a couple more months. So it's those are the big driving factors. And then I also think the agents who they're going to, they want someone that they can trust to work with and not call a 800 number and speak to a different person every time. They like having that one-on-one and knowing who their agent is so that they can build that trust with them and know that they're being taken care of.
When you say we're coming off of a hard market, what do you mean by a hard market?
That's high rates, increases. It's coming down a little bit more. They really went high the past couple of years, so that's where you saw all of your big increases. We've had a couple carriers that unfortunately took about 11% was the minimum increase % across the board, and then of course if you've got tickets or accidents or any claims, then they really hit you a little bit harder on that side. So now we're getting into a market where they're steady and they're comfortable with their rates with the state, that it's coming into a softer market where those rates aren't going to change very much over the next couple months.
Does that have anything to do with a trend in lower risk customers? I mean, there's just less claims being filed for whatever reasons?
They're taking they take precautions with that on discounts. They take the safe drivers and they look at that and then see that they're doing what they need to do to not have those accidents. So that is helping. And then the ones that do have the higher rate, then they are the ones that are really getting into accidents. There's distracted driving and all of that. So that's really the big driving factor within the auto side. Homeowners, of course, it's weather-related claims. So in the Billings area, they're getting hit a little bit harder than we are here in this area. But, yeah.
All right. This is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Justin Montelius, sales executive, and Sam Lytle, client manager with PayneWest Insurance here in Missoula. And since we are on Diane's real estate show, let's start with homeowners insurance. What kinds of things do you ask a customer about to help determine a policy best suited for them?
Yeah, so obviously it comes down to addresses, zip codes. There's certain companies that are better, in certain zip codes than others, and that's usually due to claims history. We're going to ask them what type of dogs they have. Do you have any animals? How many acres is, the property on, and how is it used? I'd say those are the main questions that we ask. We're in such a digital world that most of the stuff can be found online, but, when it comes down to, personal questions, those are the ones that we usually have to ask.
And Justin, can the answers to those questions drastically affect your quote?
Yeah, no, absolutely. When it comes down to animals, there's certain types of animals, especially dogs, that certain companies don't like. And then when it comes down to, agricultural animals, some companies are fine if you have, a couple pet horses, but, if you're getting, 10 horses and you have some cows and it's on 10 acres, it's a different, completely different type of risk. And, so that's where you're going to have to, dig a little deeper with the client and really figure out what they're doing.
You mentioned neighborhood too. I mean, just because of statistics, high crime, maybe. I hate to think that, but
no, it's more weather driven on that. I think it was 2 or 3 summers ago, Missoula really got pounded by a hailstorm. Right. So there was a lot of claims. So, and I think that was primarily on the south end of town. So, there's certain companies that aren't good there, or, there's, companies that, might have taken a, big catastrophe losses down the bidder. So, we know who the good ones are down there and kind of the ones that, aren't looking to grow as much down there.
Looking over your website, the PayneWest website, your homeowner's manual and safety checklist, it would seem to be plenty of common sense advice on there. But do you find homeowners are somewhat deficient when it comes to those kinds of things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even myself, I have been in insurance since 2008, and there are things that you don't think about.
Exactly. That was my point.
Unless you are really looking at it. So those checklists are really, really handy, just especially for if you could give them to the new home buyers that haven't had to deal with that sort of thing yet. Then they can look and see if they have the right things that they need to pretty much reduce the risk of a claim. So water shutoff valves, making sure that you've got smoke alarms that are working, even burglar alarms that go to a central station. Those are all things that can bring you a discount with each of the companies. So it's really nice to really ask those questions and be aware that can help you with your homeowner's insurance and bringing you down the premium.
Yeah, and I did notice a lot of it, too, was kind of checklist/calendar related in that, Sam, I got a smoke detector. Okay, when was the last time you looked at it? Well, if you had it down on some kind of a calendar or checklist to look at it, every 6 months, every year, I don't know, but that's an example probably of people might have these things, they just don't pay attention to these things.
Like fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
You have them. You're supposed to have them. They're in your house. But when you've actually taken the time to look if they're expired or if they are still in good working condition, that's a different story. So I would say, check it a couple times a year. Make sure that everything's in working order. You'd hate to have the fact that a fire break through your home and your smoke alarms didn't go off and that you don't have a fire extinguisher to even help reduce any damage.
Now, you're not necessarily in the business of selling people insurance they don't need. Well, you're not in that business, but do you see lots of situations where customers tend to be under insured?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's I would say a weekly occurrence, unfortunately. They just they're not educated because you're not in this world. You don't know what all you need. And that's where our job comes in is we're advising you. We're not trying to push insurance on you, but we are going to educate you in the sense of this is why we're offering this coverage. This is what happens when you don't have it. When someone gets hurt on your property, what's going to kick in first? Is it going to be your medical payments option? And what is that? Do you have $1,000 med payment, which isn't going to take you very far? And then your liability kicks in. If you only have the minimum of $100,000 anymore, that's gone within very quickly in a hospital. So you want to have that insurance because it puts you at risk financially, and we want to protect you. So we're going to ask broad, open-ended questions that we can get a full picture of what kind of insurance you need, whether it be home insurance, auto insurance, coverage for your jewelry items that you just don't think about.
Getting back to liability, I suppose you run into this a lot too when people are thinking, well, gee, I got $150,000 on there, I'm good. Well, you know what? The value of your home is, I think, if you just look at the median average in Missoula now, which I think some of our realtor friends have told us is 305, 310 in there, all of a sudden, 150 doesn't sound all that great, right?
No, absolutely not. And I think the biggest common misconception is that, increasing your liability, from 100 to 300 or 300 to 500,000, you might be looking at, $15, $20 a year.
Isn't that amazing?
It is, yeah. I mean, it's a question that we like.
Come on,
you
got an easy job. That's an easy sell, isn't it?
Yeah, you would hope so, but not all the time. And then, if you're looking at assets and, you have a family that has some assets, adding an umbrella to go over the top, usually for a couple $100 a year, provide, at least an extra $1 million in coverage over the top of those underlying limits.
Yeah, just common sense stuff, really. This is Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guest, Justin Montelius, sales executive, and Sam Lytle, client manager with PayneWest Insurance here in Missoula. Any new trends, or maybe not necessarily new trends, but popular options that people are looking for in a home insurance policy? Are they coming in and saying anything along the lines of, you know what, I heard about this, things like that might be just signs of the times, I guess?
Yeah, so what's really trending right now are the Airbnbs, vacation rental homes. So that's something that the companies are really just starting to be okay with. Not all of the companies are. It's a lot of liability risk factors because you have so many different people moving into the properties at short periods of time. So the likelihood of something happening is greater, the chance of risk. So they're really starting to get better at the coverages that they're offering, and because it's becoming more and more prevalent within the, I guess, really the nation. It's everywhere. So
Sure.
Montana's always the last one to kind of get these things. So it's been a rough couple of years with that, but we're starting to get there, and I would say that's probably the biggest one at this moment within home insurance side of things to cover. So
I assume you do have some Airbnb clients these days.
Yes.
What kind of feedback you're getting from them about? Well, this 3-day tenant was fine. This one was a disaster. I imagine it's case by case.
It is. It's definitely a case by case. Luckily, we haven't really, at least on our end, haven't had too many losses or claims that we know of that really we've had to step in and get involved with. You get that with any sort of rental also, so you
Sure.
get some good stories within that. But, we want to make sure that you're covered. And so it may sound like we're trying to oversell you some insurance, but this all comes back on your liability. It's not the people that are staying there. So whether or not they've done something, it's your liability. You need to be sure that you're covered correctly.
Well, that as far as the rental aspect of that kind of goes hand in hand with my next question for you. For various reasons, supply and demand, price, et cetera, there's a pretty high number of renters in this area. Rental compared to homeowner policies, insurance policies, how are they different? And how are they the same?
Well, homeowners policy insurance, that's covering your liability, because you own the home, you want to make sure that structure is covered. You want the liability if someone is going to get hurt on your property, that all falls on you. When you are a landlord and you are renting your home to someone else, there's different coverages. You still have the structure coverage of the home, and then you have the liability for your tenants and anybody who gets hurt that they would find you negligent for. But we then don't insure your personal contents.
Right.
So it's a different policy because most likely you're probably not going to have your furniture or personal items within the home that you're renting to someone. That's when the renter's insurance then comes, or tenant policy comes into play, and you should be requiring your tenants to get their own renter's policy, and that's going to cover their liability and also their personal contents. Otherwise, there's no coverage.
Do you think a lot of renters misunderstand that or misinterpret that as, oh, well, my landlord's got insurance?
Absolutely. We have a lot that just don't go with insurance. If you are renting through a property management, they're doing a good job at least requiring you to have the renter's insurance. But if you're going through a private party that doesn't have that, then the chances are, if you don't buy one yourself, your contents are not covered. The liability that you would then be found negligent for is not covered. So it's for $20,000 worth of personal property coverage, you can range anywhere from $125 to $205. So it depends on where you're at. Each person, it's significantly inexpensive for that ease.
Our guest, Justin Montelius, sales executive, and Sam Lytle, client manager with PayneWest Insurance on Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Couple of terms here. Can you explain actual cash value coverage? There I go. And also replacement cost value. How that can affect your premiums, the similarities, the differences, and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So actual cash value is going to be what a product is worth minus depreciation. So let's say someone broke into your home, stole your TV. It's 5 years old. It's no longer worth the $500 that you paid for it. It's worth $200. So that's what they're going to pay you out. Replacement cost would be that they're going to find you something that's, similar or new, and they're just going to absolutely replace it for you.
How are those prices set? I mean, what do you mean my $500 TV is only worth $200 now? I don't understand that.
Yeah,
been working fine, no problem.
Yeah, and most companies now offer everything on a replacement cost value. So, it's very rare to see something that's on an actual cash value basis.
Okay.
And to go with that too, there's other endorsements that you can add to a homeowner's policy, such as special personal property. That's also going to figure in, mysterious disappearance. So if you have a ring and you were to lose it,
right.
Pay up to whatever their underlying limit is. And then on top of that, you can always schedule, anything of value that you do have in the home or in your rental that you were renting.
What does the term umbrella insurance refer to, and can you give some examples of that?
So an umbrella policy is a liability policy that it goes over your homeowner's insurance, your auto insurance, if you have motorcycles, whatever policies that you have with that company. You have to, on those underlying limits, so your main homeowner's policy, for instance, you have to have the liability at a certain amount. Normally, it's the minimum you can do is $300,000 for the liability side. And then if you have that umbrella policy, if someone were to get hurt on your property, the underlying limit of the $300,000 would come into play first. And then if the medical payments go over that, that's when your umbrella policy comes in. So then you have that extra $1 million is the minimum umbrella that you could do. You can always go up to $5 million, depending on what your assets and what you need to make sure that your family is protected. And with that, I mean, like I said, you can pretty much go through $300,000 even pretty darn quickly with medical bills. And it also goes over your auto insurance. So if you have your auto limits at the minimum there is either $250,000, $500,000, or $300,000 combined single limit, then your umbrella kicks over that. And it pretty much is what it sounds like. It's an umbrella that sits over all of your policies underneath it and then has a little bit extra coverage for personal offense, legal fees, and everything. It's that extra coverage to protect you so that you don't have to come out of pocket.
It sounds like an umbrella with kind of a big investment tied to it. Am I wrong about that?
It's a good investment.
Okay.
For $1 million,
great answer.
It's a very good investment.
Great answer there.
When you're looking at it in terms, you hear $1 million and you automatically think this is way more coverage than I will ever need.
Yeah, that's where I'm going.
And it's way too much money. And that's not the case. Usually, depending on the carrier, I mean, you can get into $1 million umbrella policy anywhere between $200 to $400. Again, it's always dependent on the carrier, the person, the individual people, but it's really that for that extra benefit so that you know that your family is safe, that you don't have to then come up with that on your own is a huge peace of mind, in my opinion.
Excellent. Well done. Now, this is kind of a fun one that I took off your website here. I have a stepson getting married in 2 weeks. Maybe that's why it caught my eye. But is wedding insurance something that you receive a fair amount of inquiries on?
Yeah, we do receive a fair amount of inquiries on it. We do have options. Basically what people are buying a policy for is whatever venue that they're renting out is required.
Sure.
A lot of times there's alcohol served at these events, and the amount of liability associated with making sure people don't get in the car and leave is very high. So that's protecting whoever owns the piece of property that you're renting. It's also easy just to go online and get one of these too, and pretty quick if you just get on there and do a little searching. It's something that we do receive a fair amount of requests for, and it's not just weddings. It could be any type of special event that you're having around town that they require you to carry a liability policy.
Yeah. And it probably dawns on a lot of people. Again, I'm using my example, stepson getting married February 22nd, I believe the exact date. And I'm thinking, well, there's no way I can get wedding insurance for that now. What kind of lead time is typically required to get something like that? Because you're talking about you're just covering essentially a one-day event.
Yeah, you are. And typically they'll the carriers will extend it for the day before to the day after, because there's always setup and cleanup.
Yeah.
And I guess when you look at how cost effective they are, they're not very expensive. It's all dependent on if you're selling booze, if there's going to be any hard liquor, number of guests. Those are usually the big things.
Yeah.
But in terms of how quick you can get one, if you give us a 48-hour heads up, usually it's something we could do pretty easily.
Yeah, that's not too tough. Hey, a special thank you to some of Diane Beck's marketing partners that helped bring us Missoula Real Estate today. Rob Fleming with Man Mortgage, Miles Link of Opportunity Bank of Montana, and Carol Blodgett from MakeItMissoula.com. Missoula Real Estate today, and Justin Montelius, Sales Executive, and Sam Lytle, Client Manager from PayneWest, joining us on the show this weekend. I asked you folks this question with regards to homeowners insurance. Do you find many of your vehicle insurance customers make the mistake of wanting to cut corners there as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one that I talk about every day. I have this conversation with multiple people multiple times a day. What your liability insurance, you want to protect yourself. It is, again, to make you protected on your financial strain. So if you say you hit me and you have the state minimum limits, which in Montana that's $25,000 for bodily injury per person, it's $50,000 bodily injury per accident, and then $20,000 for property damage.
Did you say that was the minimum?
That's the state minimum. That's what you are required to carry to drive.
All right.
That's nothing. If you hit me, my car could be worth $20,000, and if you then bumped me into somebody else and you totaled my car and then did damage to the other car, you're already looking way past $20,000. So you would be responsible for the rest of it if you do not have the proper coverage. To go up in coverage, we within PayneWest, our standard limits are 100, 300, 100. That's $100,000 for bodily injury per person. It's $300,000 bodily injury per occurrence, and then $100,000 for property damage. That is our company standard because we want to protect you. We don't want to offer you coverage that we shouldn't be. You should be protected, and it's not a big jump in premium when you're looking at it. So with that, I always quote it that way. And if they're pushing me back, I just try and give them examples. We had a client that didn't have underinsured motorist coverage, and they had gotten hit by someone who had the state minimums, and they didn't have the underinsured motorist coverage to protect themselves. So if you are willing to then protect someone else, then you should be willing to protect yourself and the people in your vehicle as well. So the underinsured motorist coverage is very, very important. Personally, I think that's one of the main issues we come in, and that's one of the main ones that people say, I have health insurance, it's okay. And that's not always the case.
Right.
You need to protect yourself. And it can also kick in if you were a passenger in someone else's vehicle and their uninsured motorist coverage has been exhausted, then you can also dip into your own.
Why did PayneWest set those numbers, do you feel? Just because statistically or average-wise, that's the kind of money you can run into based on some of the things some of the examples you were just giving, Sam?
Yep, absolutely. So, for instance, the property damage coverage anymore, it used to be that you could fix a fender for less than $1,000. Now, with all of the sensors and the cameras and everything like that, you pretty much have to take off the full entire bumper, replace that. Then you have the side panels because it's connected. And a simple fender bender that used to be $1,000 is now $10,000. So then you also have to think about, the body shops, their labor costs have gone up. You also have to think about medical fees because the doctor fees have gotten higher. Legal fees have gotten higher so all of these things really go into when you file a claim. And that's things that we pay out always.
Missoula Real Estate Today, presented by Diane Beck of Windermere Real Estate. Our guests, Justin Montelius, sales executive, and Sam Lytle, client manager with PayneWest. I guess I'll ask this question to both of you, but what are some of the things you find most rewarding about what you do?
I would say the clients. First and foremost, I'm a people person, so I love working with the clients, making sure that they are covered the way that they need to be. And then insurance is an always changing venue. You never, ever have the same question. You do, but it's always different. And so getting to explain things to people, making sure that they're educated then by what they need and feel safe with what they have and understand their coverages I enjoy that so much.
How about you there, Justin?
Yeah, I would say that mine's kind of the same thing as well. Every day there's something different. With Montana being, having so many, rural spots that people like to vacation. It's trying to, how do you find coverage for a home that's 20 miles off the grid and only operates on solar power? So it's always the one-offs that are kind of the fun stuff. And it's definitely a problem solving thing. And I guess I also like the fact that we work well in teams at PayneWest. So,
all right, good answers. You can both answer this too if you want to. It's time for your campaign speech here. Why should people consider PayneWest for all of their insurance needs?
Well, I think they should consider PayneWest. We are a broker, so we do work with a wide variety of companies.
Right.
So based on your own unique situation, we're going to be able to ask you the questions, find out exactly what you have, and then put you with the carrier that best fits you.
Good. How about you, Sam?
I'm going to echo that. And then we also have a variety of other departments that we do. So we have that collaboration with commercial lines, with benefits. So if you need all of those, it's a one-stop shop. You have your own manager, you have your own sales executive that you can call in and know that you can get to them and ask questions.
Yeah, and the other thing I always like to mention, too, is that we do have our own in-house claims teams.
Yeah.
So we do have someone that's an extra resource if, let's say we get a claim that's in a gray area or if we're having problems with the carrier, paying it out. So we do have our own, in-house, claims team that'll kind of get involved. And, they work on behalf of the client, not on behalf of the insurance company that, the client is with. So it's always kind of nice to have, that extra advocate for the client. And I think that, when there is a problem, the clients really appreciate that there is that option.
And finally, contact information. How do we get a hold of PayneWest? Where do we find you and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so you can call our main number, which is 721-1000. They'll redirect you to one of our personal lines colleagues. I think there is about 10 to 12 of us just in Missoula.
Yeah.
And we are located on Palmer Street, which is a street that runs in between Reserve and Broadway, kind of out by Target. It's right across the street from Pacific Steel. So, and more than welcome to walk in at any time. There's always going to be someone there to help you.
Good stuff. Justin Montelius and Sam Lytle from PayneWest. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Missoula Real Estate Today. Contact Diane Beck with Windermere Real Estate. Email dianebeck@realtor.com or visit her website homesinmissoula.com. That's homesinmissoula.com. We'll see you next time on Missoula Real Estate Today.